Hey guys, it's Friday. Just wanted to share some things about Murph coming up this weekend, go into a little more detail than I was able to in the social media post that I put up, or maybe you're not on social media, good for you, and you didn't see it. I put up a post, just some things, 5 things to know before doing the workout Murph. So number 1, remember why we do Murph. Number 2, it is just another workout. Number 3, scaling is cool. Number 4, fuel. And number 5, mindset. Mindset matters. So I'll go into a little more detail on those. First, remember why we do Murph. It's a hero workout created to honor Lieutenant Michael Murphy, who was a U.S. Navy SEAL who died in action in Afghanistan in 2005. And if you've ever seen the movie Lone Survivor, that movie is the story of Lieutenant Murphy's team. And he did not make it out. Supposedly the workout was one of his favorite training routines, and it was created to honor him. It's often done on Memorial Day in CrossFit gyms, and it's grown way outside of CrossFit at this point to honor Murphy and all fallen soldiers. So remember that. And number 2, there is that bigger meaning behind it. It's important to be aware of, but at the end of the day, as far as the actual workout and the physical part of it, it is just another workout. Okay, people can get really worked up about this workout and think you have to do all this crazy prep to get ready for it. But the truth is, if you've been doing CrossFit, not even necessarily for that long, but if you've been doing CrossFit regularly with good coaching, you are prepared for Murph, or at least an appropriately scaled version of Murph. You'll be fine. Just chip away at it like any other workout. Yes, it's long and hard and grueling compared to, well, in some ways it's hard. In other ways, and I'll go into this in a second, it's not as hard as a lot of workouts we do. But just chip away at it and you'll be fine. And remember why we're doing it at the end of the day, that it's to honor others. So number 3, scaling is cool, okay? It's sometimes people can get like really worked up about, well, it's Murph, I have to do it RX, or I have to do it this certain rep scheme, or I have to wear a vest. No, you don't, okay? Scale it appropriately for you, just like you would any other workout. Coaches can help you do that. The stimulus of Murph is somewhere around 50 minutes, plus or minus. Some people are gonna be closer to an hour. Some people are gonna be able to be faster than 50 minutes. Somewhere in that range though. And we have some scaling options in SugarWOD, and then there's more things we can do beyond that to personalize it for you depending on just where you are. And if you're considering like, oh, I wonder if I should wear a vest this time, a good rule of thumb is to have a sub 45-minute time on an unvested version of the workout before you decide to wear a vest, or have a sub 45-minute time on a scaled version of the workout before you decide to even do the RX reps, but with no vest. That's a good rule of thumb. If you've been close to that, like it, it's fine, but that's just it's something to consider. Safety is always the number 1 priority there. And speaking of that, okay, I'm gonna nerd out here for a second, and some of you are gonna your eyes are gonna glaze over, and you'll be like, dude, I'm just here to work out. Like, what are you talking about? But I think it's important for you guys to be educated, because educated athletes make better athletes. You're gonna make more intelligent decisions, and I think this stuff is cool. So I'm gonna go into it. I've had this conversation with some people, but I actually, so there can be this whole thing of like, oh, well, doing it with a vest and straight through, like that's the hardest way to do it. And maybe, because hardest is a subjective term, but if you want to talk about intensity is what drives results. That's why the definition of CrossFit is constantly varied functional movements executed at high intensity. And intensity is actually, there's a mathematical formula to figure it out. So it's objective, okay? Mathematical intensity. There's relative intensity as well, which is like perceived exertion and things. But talking about mathematical objective intensity, it's force times distance divided by time. So force meaning how much weight are you moving around? In this case, it's just our body weight, times distance. So how far are you moving it? It's different for the different movements, obviously, and it's a hard thing to measure, but you can kind of guesstimate it. And then how long did it take you to complete the work? So your score of the workout, your time on the workout. And I actually had ChatGPT run the numbers on this, okay? This is where it gets really nerdy, guys. And because I just want to illustrate for you that, in my opinion, the most intense way to do Murph for most people, maybe not like an elite athlete, but for most people, and maybe even an elite athlete, is to do it with no vest, splitting it up like Cindy. That is the most intense way to do Murph. And here's why. Because you are doing the same amount of work as someone doing it straight through, but you're doing it in a faster time. So if you take the exact same amount of force times distance, but you divide it by a smaller number, the number that spits out the other end of that calculation is higher intensity. Okay? Now, is it more difficult from a muscular stamina standpoint to do it straight through? Yes, probably. I just did it straight through today. It definitely, you hit more fatigue, but that's why it takes longer, is you have to take more breaks, you have to go slower, so the intensity isn't as high. I was scared to do it like Cindy, because for me, when I do it like Cindy, none of those movements slow me down at all. So it's very intense. And to be honest, I just wanted to do it straight through because that's what I was feeling today, and I didn't necessarily feel like burning it down with the intensity that would come if I did it like Cindy, which is 20 rounds of 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 air squats, instead of doing all 100 pull-ups in a row, all 200 push-ups in a row, all 300 air squats in a row, which is what I did today. Now, on top of that, this is where I actually had ChatGPT run the calculation, okay? If you wear a vest, that's gonna slow you down even more, okay? And yes, you're adding weight, so you're making the top number of that fraction higher, okay? So if you added weight and did it the exact same time as your unweighted time, the intensity would be higher. But for most people, it's gonna slow you down pretty significantly. So check this out. If, for me, my body weight, and I had ChatGPT estimated the amount of distance I would travel in each movement as well, which is pretty crazy. If you guys haven't used AI like this, it's pretty amazing what it can do. I had it estimate if I had a 45-minute time with no weight vest on Murph, 45 minutes, no weight vest. The intensity, which is gonna be a weight per minute, it was 1,808 pounds per minute would be my intensity on an unweighted 45-minute Murph. 1,808. Okay, keep that number in mind. 1,808. Now, if I did Murph with a 20-pound weight vest, and it took me 60 minutes, okay, an extra 15 minutes, which is pretty realistic, the intensity is 1,556, 250 pounds per minute less intense. Okay, some of you are just like, okay. The point is, doing Murph with a vest with a slower time is probably going to be less intense for the vast majority of people. Subjectively, I would call that easier. All right? Not from a muscular stamina standpoint, but I would rather experience muscular fatigue than jacked up heart rate and all that kind of stuff. Okay, done with the nerding out. So that was number 3. Scaling is cool. Scaling actually makes things more intense a lot of the time. Okay, number 4, fuel. So if you're doing the workout on Monday, on Sunday, I know it's Memorial Day weekend, but I would recommend not, drinking a ton of beers the night before and going crazy. If you do, are you gonna be okay? Yes, you'll be fine. You might just not feel great. But hydrate really well on Sunday, eat some well-balanced meals, whole foods, fruits and vegetables, protein. Don't be afraid of some carbs. And then on Monday morning, I would recommend, even if you normally fast, because it is a longer, higher volume workout, it might be hot out, I would recommend eating 2 hours before Murph and maybe not a huge breakfast, but like a couple of eggs, a banana, a piece of toast. It's something that's a balanced meal of carbs, protein, fat, something you can digest relatively easily, and also hydrate, okay? Hydrate the day before, hydrate the morning of, get a good night's sleep. Coach Nicole I didn't put that in the post, and I was like, oh man, Nicole's gonna be mad at me. but get a good night's sleep for sure. And number 5, mindset matters. So just remember that we get to do this in the comfort of our home training environment with our friends. We get to go home to our homes afterwards. And the whole reason why we do this specifically on Memorial Day is to memorialize those who chose to not have that option and ultimately made the ultimate sacrifice so we can enjoy those freedoms. So remember that, go after it, embrace the challenge. It is challenging. I'm not saying it's not a challenging workout, but you'll be fine. Embrace the challenge and think about Murph and others as you're going through it when it gets tough. On that last mile, when you don't want to move your legs anymore after all the squats, think about those guys and ladies, and be grateful. All right? Looking forward to it. See you guys this weekend.